I went back to the same team I'd been in before. I was based at, we had smaller satellite offices out of Bradford. So I went back to join the same team I'd been in. So mixed of social workers and nurses. But at that time, we were doing less proactive work because there was more work and there wasn't time to do the proactive stuff. Like the going out and knocking on the people that I talked about with the elderly carers, etc. It became more difficult because at that time then we were looking for more services. There were more people and more people wanting services, and then you were looking for more funding. Lots of people were obviously staying at home with families longer, so therefore their families were needing more support at home, so they needed packages of care, support going into the house to help people get people up or dressed or bathed or things. People were living with elderly carers longer, so therefore the elderly carers were finding it more difficult to do a lot of the personal care, so therefore we were putting in packages of care, and a lot of it was identifying funding, getting someone to fund that, and obviously all the funding came from local authority. And at that time I went to my manager, explained and put a case forward for what was needed, and he agreed or not agreed depending on what his budget was at the time. But at that point there was only me. I just went to him to ask for what I needed. Things didn't work like that now, but that's how it did at the time.
Okay. And then back in 2010, you became a community matron at Waddylows.
That's right. The team that I was in, the CTLD, as it was, Community Team for People with Learning Disabilities, it was decided to focus because there'd been lots of research done by MenCap that there were valuing people that was done. There was lots of different reports that were done that was showing that people with learning disabilities' health was not being looked after adequately, and there had been some deaths that had occurred nationally that should not have occurred, and when the inquiry was done into those deaths, it was shown that poor access to healthcare was a prominent figure. So therefore, in Bradford, they decided to set up a health support team, and I was obviously successful in getting one of the new jobs in that team. And my job now primarily is to focus on people's health needs, making sure people get access to healthcare, making sure people's needs are met. When people go into hospital, making sure that everything's done that it should be done, making sure that the routine checks that we talk about, the dental, the auditory, the attending for x-rays and things like that, making sure that happens. But as a community matron also, I work with continuing healthcare a lot and look at budgets and setting packages of care and coordinate that care to make sure that people's care at home meets their needs.
Okay, and you say now you have to make sure people's care at home meets the needs. So have you found that have you been able to do a lot more work home like support and care work rather than at the centres? Most
of the people I work with now live at home with family or usually families, and they've got very long-term health conditions, and they've got complex health. They may have more than one condition. People may have epilepsy, they may have cerebral palsy, they may have breathing problems, may have swallowing problems, they may have poor nutrition, they may have artificial feeds through a peg in the stomach. Those are the kind of people I work now in my role as a community matron. But people are generally supported by families at home. And the one thing that people said in Bradford when there was a big LD review a few years ago was that families never knew who to ring when they wanted some support. When people are children and up to the age of 18, they have a paediatrician and they have a school nurse, and they look after all their needs, their basic needs. When you become 18, you don't have a paediatrician anymore, so you may have 2 or 3 different consultants. You may have a consultant for your epilepsy and a consultant for your gastro, or you might have a consultant because you've got poor density of your bones. So therefore you're seeing 3 different consultants. then you may be seeing a dietitian, you may be seeing a physio, you may be seeing an occupational therapist. And what families were saying in the LD review is that they wanted to just be able to phone one person and say, I've got this problem, what do you think, what should I do? So my role is a lot of that is about helping support families so that they can concentrate on the job they have, which is as a carer to that person, and hopefully I can support them to make sure that all the other things just happens.
Okay. You said how it's been having a mix of all the care and needs met and everything, so like, how do you feel as being a son of how well the needs have been met, and what challenges and issues have you faced with making sure the needs are met?
Because we use lots of outside agencies now, we have lots of other services that are organised. They're either charities or the private organisations that provide the care that go into the home. They're meeting lots of different needs. So the other role that I have is education, is making sure that people understand about that person and they understand what that person's needs are. So I would do a lot of work around producing a health action plan that takes exactly what that person needs, but then going along and making sure that the staff understand that why they've got a swallowing problem, why they have to swallow a splendid diet, why the skincare is important. So a lot of it is about general advice or education really, and making sure that people understand that person that they're caring for. Because if you can imagine as somebody's mum, is that they get sick to death of telling the same thing over and over and over and over again to different people. Because if you have an agency that go in, you may have 4 or 5 different people coming into your home every day, and it's and then when they're on holiday, you have some more people. So it's about making sure that that agency is able to meet them needs because they know that what that person needs, and that's part of my role, is to making sure that people get the right information.
Okay, and would you say are there any of main parts of your role as a community matron?
I'm sorry, I did say that again.
Does your role as a community matron at Body Loves entail any of roles?
Yeah, a lot of it's, we do LD awareness up at the hospital, we do sessions up at the hospital, we do sessions out and about with lots of different care providers. With other organisations, we've just done one at the voluntary organisation about what is a learning disability and what is not a learning disability. We do lots of work. At the moment, we're just meeting up, going out to the GP practices and explaining who we are and what we can do and how we can help. Making sure that people get their annual health checks every year at the GP practice. Making sure that they know where to signpost people to if they find things and they don't know where to go. And the other thing that's just come up again is through the GP annual health checks is that there is a lack of dental services again in Bradford, so therefore we're giving them the information of how to get access to the community dental service. I think there's a lack of dentists nationally, I think, for anybody. I think it's becoming more and more difficult for people to get dentists, but if you've got a learning disability and you find it hard to access a service, obviously it's more difficult for you to be accepted onto somebody's list. The other thing is about supporting families and carers, is to make sure that they get the support that they need. You know, if I go along and somebody's mum's looking tired and worn out because she hasn't had any sleep for 3 or 4 nights, then I think, you know, it's my role to say, can I help you, can I find some respite for you, can we do something about this? Because my feeling is if I look after the carers, they're looking after the person, but someone has to look after the carers, because long term, if they can't look after that person's going to need long term care. And for most families, they want people to stay at home with them as long as possible. Mm-hmm. The other part of my job is also about finding services for people when they no longer can stay where they are, is that they need an alternative provision. It's up to me to find an alternative provision, be it a residential home, a nursing home, or whatever.